Tonight, we find a way.
And they knocked off Colquitt County to be the 7A champs in Georgia in 2018.
We're going to attack them like they've never been attacked. Last time we I threw a bunch of stuff at you, and I want you to be rest assured I did that kind of intentionally because I wanted to get as much of the kind of memorization things to you, because you don't need me to teach you the 0 through 9 route tree. Okay. What you got to do is make a commitment to internalize that. So when I use that language in this course, and I want that to be in your head, because I really do believe that it's a faster way to compute and to think. And that's all we're trying to do, right? Building anticipation to get to the best answers faster and more consistently. Then I threw a bunch of the base coverages at you. Again, went really fast because I think you don't need me to teach you those things per se. You can study those on your own. There's a lot more to those coverages than what we talked about, but it's just the foundations. So we're going to continue to go back over those and over those and over those. And we'll be reviewing that today, and we'll be looking at some ways that you can take those routes, take those coverages, and start applying some other details to help you pre-snap recognize. So we're going to dig on in. So it's going to be a little bit of review first. So again, 0 through 9, I need you guys to kind of think back on that. If you have the notes out to your side, make sure that you kind of get those routes down. Again, 0 through 3, that's your short routes. Hitch, every odd number goes inside, remember, or excuse me, every odd number goes outside. So the 1 is a quick out, 2 is a quick slant, 3 is a deep out, all right, 4 is a curl, 5 is a comeback to the outside, 6 is a dig to the inside, and then we get into our deep routes. 7, that's the big corner. 8, that's the big post, and everybody should know that 9 is the go route, okay? Somebody unmute and see if you can get it. What does it mean when I say bang? What does that mean? If I apply a bang term.
Bang is a route adjustment that alerts the quarterback and receiver to shorten their normal route.
Right. So what type of routes would we tag bang to?
9 route.
We would tag it to a 9. We can tag it to an 8. And we don't really use it with a 7, but I think it still applies. If I said a bang 7, we're talking about hitting that corner really quick. So again, the bang, the easiest way to think about it is I'm taking the deeper route that would take longer to develop from the quarterback, and I'm telling the receiver and I'm telling the quarterback, we're going to throw this with essentially quick game timing, but it's going to be in that intermediate spot. So it's kind of throwing quick game into the intermediate spots. All right. So again, that's good. Good. Glad you guys remember that. All right. So here we go. Let's roll. Get this guy in. All right. So cover 2. And again, I'm going to buzz through these really fast because we're going to spend the rest of the day looking at these coverages with real pictures and talking about some different identification techniques. But the easiest way, and I didn't really do this with you guys the other day, but I really want to focus on that what I called the shell. Remember that red little line that's going across right here? All right, going across the safeties, connecting the safeties and the corners. So if I say cover 2, what I mean is we got deep safeties and low corners. All right, those low corners, they're playing in what's called the flats, that low area right there. And those safeties have deep responsibility. So it makes this big kind of stone mountain, big hill, okay, is what we talk about. And remember, 2, 4, 6, 9, 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. I want to get you computing that fast. Those are the routes that are available in those spaces. When I say cover 3, right, we've got our little TP guy right here, our A-frame house, because we got the 1 high safety really deep in the middle. All right, and we got our corners who are also playing deep. All right, but probably not quite as deep as that safety. And they're playing those outside thirds. So we got 3 guys deep in coverage there. Taking away those deep zones down the field. Right? Remember, the seams are the weak point here, right? Down the middle of the field. Okay, or down the hashes right here. I gave you a clue the other day. Anytime there's a corner that is playing with skinny feet, right? That triangle, he's playing back. He's going back into coverage. What routes are available every single time we see that corner with deep coverage?
The hitch.
Well, the hitch is one, but there's an easier way to think about it. Not just the hitch, not just the one, not just the two, but 0 through
6.
0 through 6. Again, I'm trying to make it to where we can compute these things fast now. So 0 through 6. All right. Now, the big 8, remember, we're never going to throw that big 8 into a middle of the field safety. All right. So we know it's not there. But if we had a bang 8, all right, if we had that bang 8, if you can follow my mouse here, that guy's going to be thrown in that 18 to 22 yard sweet spot right there in between these corners and safety. All right. And then when we say bang 9 from the hash, we're just saying, hey, we're throwing a bang 9 route. All right. Not the deep 9, but that bang 9 at that 18 to 22 yard spot. All right. But we're going to throw it from the hash right there. So it's going to be in the seam. Cover 4. So we got 4 deep. All right. Now we see it's much flatter, right? The contour here or the shell is much flatter. You're going to have safeties and corners kind of playing deeper leverage. Okay, or excuse me, deeper depths, right, on the same plane right there. So our corners back up, but our safeties come down a little bit versus cover 2. And we talked about what these dashes mean right there. Somebody tell me, what does the dash mean instead of the triangle? What am I telling you that safety's doing? If the triangle meant that he had skinny feet and he's getting back, his demeanor tells me he's playing deep. The dash,
He's on the run defense.
yeah, well, he could have some run support. I'll use this word demeanor, right? The base is big. He looks like he's getting ready to come downhill because those safeties in cover 4, while they do have some deep responsibility, they also have run responsibility. So they'll play a little tighter. So that's why we can throw this 8 route potentially against cover 4 if we can get that safety to come down. All right, because we won't have a deep safety in the middle of the field. If we get him to come down, we can throw it over the top. This is a big shot opportunity here. So we say, hey, corner with skinny feet, 0 through 6 is available. All right, those corners are getting back, 0 through 6 is available. All right, and now we potentially have that big 8 shot. All right, cover 1, now we're getting into our man coverage. All right, getting into our man coverage. So we know we only got one safety high. All right, we got one safety high. That means there's the ability for them to bring more pressure. All right, remember we talked about that math right there. If we've got 5 routes available and they're playing sound, they're going to cover all 5 routes. All right, if they're playing sound defense, okay, we've got 5 to block. They have 1 safety deep, so that's 5 plus 1. All right, 5 routes covered plus 1. What gets them to 11? That's 5. All right, so they have 5 available to rush. We have 5 available to block. You know, we technically can pick them all up, but we could also have a chance where we get somebody beat. So anytime we see that one high safety and we recognize that it's man, and we'll talk about how to recognize that. First thing we want to think is quick, right? We got to get this thing out quicker. So technically against man coverage, anything can get open because it's one-on-one routes. So we think everything is open except for where that free safety's playing. So everything but 8, but we say quick with that. So that's our cover 1 look. And then our last one that we talk about, we got two more that we'll talk about tonight. Cover 0, nobody's deep, right? It's flat line. Everybody's under 10 yards. Now we're like, no safety's deep. They can cover with 5. That leaves 6 available to blitz or to rush us. So now we know quick, right? We got to get it out fast. So not only do the quarterback need to know that, but our receivers need to know that. The defense needs to understand that this ball is probably coming out quick. So everything's available, but it's got to be able to happen fast. What did we talk about versus, cover 1 versus cover 0 with the way that the DBs might play? Are they going to play tighter coverage in cover 0 or maybe a little looser in comparison to cover 1?
They're going to play loose because they don't got no help.
They're going to play a little loose. Awesome. Y'all are doing a great job. Y'all remembered a bunch of this stuff. They're going to play a little looser potentially. So that can kind of trick some people up sometimes because you expect man coverage to be tight. All right. But again, if we see no safeties, all right, even if they're at like 8 yards, that's still going to be cover zero. They're going to try to bring some pressure, keep things in front of them, and break on the ball. All right. And then lastly, we talk about cover 5. That's where we got 5. We got man coverage across the board, but we've got 2 safeties really deep. All right. So it can kind of look like a cover 2, except now we're going to see that, instead of those corners playing outside leverage, they're probably playing inside leverage. We're going to check the linebackers. All right. We're going to see that they're in man coverage. All right. But we got those 2 guys deep. So it's a great coverage defense, but they're going to be light for rush. They're going to be light in the box. We'll talk about that later at another time. So we know we can't throw those balls deep into the middle of the field. We don't want to throw it real deep down the sideline because the safeties are roaming, but everything else is available because it's man coverage underneath. Now, we know we should have a little more time with this because they can only rush 4 now. If they got 5 in coverage and 2 deep, that's 7. So there's only 4 available to rush us. Those are just the static pictures. So we're going to start looking at some pre and post snap shots. So I want to give you some filtering process. All right, some filtering process. So the first thing I want you to think about is we should be looking up and filtering through the safeties. All right, looking up and filtering through the safeties. And I know there's, I gave you 5, 6 different coverages, but if you can look up and see, all right, is it 1 high or is it 2 high? We can go ahead and deduce a lot of things. All right, so if there's 2 high safeties, okay, and the middle of the field is open, we know right now it cannot be cover 1 or cover 3. It's going to be cover 0, 2, 4, or 6. And we're not really going to talk much about 6 tonight. So let's just say it's 0, 2, or 4. All right. If there's 1 safety high in the middle of the field, we know it can only be 2 different coverages. It can be cover 1 or it can be cover 3. All right. So that to me is where we start when we're looking at this. That's going to give us the most information the quickest. So we can deduce it down. So now we got to think, okay, so how do I determine the differences of those? Right? How can I tell if it's cover 2 or cover 4? All right. So we started talking about the demeanor and the base. Remember, whoever has the big base, whoever looks like they're playing kind of holding their ground. If I see a safety with wide feet and he's leaning forward, even if he's at 10, 11 yards, I'm thinking, he doesn't look like he's playing cover 2 where he's got to get deep and get on the hashes. He looks like he may be coming down and playing cover 4 where he could come up and fit the run. Same thing with our corners. If I look up and I see a corner who's got a big base outside leverage underneath 5 yards, well, now I'm thinking what? What's that corner? Is he playing deep or is he playing tight? Or is he playing the flats?
Flats.
Playing the flats. So if I see 2 safeties high and I see a corner to that side, down and outside, I'm thinking right now that's cover 2. All right, that's cover 2. All right. If I see a safety at 10 with a big base, and I see a corner backed up at 7 yards with skinny feet, thinking right now that's cover 4. All right, that's cover 4. Then we start looking at kind of another piece of their thing is their leverage here. All right, where are they playing? Are they playing inside leverage? All right. Are they playing outside leverage? Is their belt, is another way to think about it, is their belt turned to the quarterback or is it turned more to the man? So we say, is that inside foot? If I think that I'm the corner and I look out to my left and I see that corner with his inside foot back and his belt kind of turned to me, I'm thinking that's more zone coverage. If I see his outside foot back and his kind of hips turned away from me, if I'm the quarterback again, they're turned more to the receiver, I'm thinking that could be more of an indicator of man coverage. If he's playing outside of the receiver, that's typically more zone. If he's playing inside the receiver, that's typically more man. Again, these aren't 100%, but what we're going to do is kind of say, what's the picture overall giving me? What are most of these guys telling me? All right. We got to go with the most reasonable answer. And then the last piece we'll talk about is eyes. This one's a good giveaway, but this one's easy to kind of trick us sometimes. But if those eyes are locked on the quarterback and they're looking at the field, we're thinking that's more of a zone presence. But if those eyes are locked on the receiver, all right, not looking at the quarterback, we're thinking man. So we're going to filter all these little things as we go, and the more we do it, you'll start doing it all in one, right? You'll start running through these things really quick. So the first thing we're going to do is identify the safeties, and then we're going to start looking at the eyes and the leverage. So another way to think about this, some people just say the 1D, they call it the DEL technique. All right, DEL. I like to add a second D, all right, for the demeanor part. So as we catch our safeties, we're also then going to start looking at what's the depth. Are they deeper? Are they shallower? What's the demeanor that talks about our feet? That talks about our body presence. Does it look like he's coming forward or does it look like he's going backwards? His eyes, where is his eyes at? Are they on the man that he's playing or are they on the quarterback? And then his leverage, inside, outside. What's his feet doing? Is the inside foot back, belt to the quarterback looking more like zone? Is the outside foot back, body shifted more to the receiver looking more like man? So just a couple of quick pictures right here talking about our demeanor, right? Skinny feet. Okay, we see this guy right here. Look at those feet underneath him. All right, tight. Again, if you just get up and practice, do a back pedal real quick. If I told you to back pedal 10 yards and then stop, kind of in the middle, that's where your feet would be. Or right before you get ready to go, you're gonna tighten that base up because you're getting ready to go back. If I told you, hey, you're getting ready to play linebacker or you're getting ready to come up and collision a guy, those feet should get a little wider, right? You're ready to get in a power stance. Some people call this a speed stance. Some people call this a power stance. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we're looking at the base, right? Does it look like he's getting back? Does it look like he's coming forward? All right, eyes, this is simple. Okay, when I look out and I see those eyes are locked on the receiver right here. I see this guy locked on his receiver right here. I'm thinking those are man eyes, right? He's playing his man. I look out and I see this guy out here. You see that inside foot's back. You see his demeanor's getting back. All right, his eyes are inside on the quarterback. I'm thinking that's zone. That's zone. He's giving me a zone presence, right? Talking about leverage again. We see this guy. He's kind of cocked outside of his man. Okay, eyes inside foot back. His leverage is outside. He's trying to funnel everything back into his help. All right, I'm thinking that's more zone. Outside leverage, inside foot back. Or is he inside leverage? Now we're looking at this guy right here. Okay, in the white jersey and the blue helmet. Is he inside leverage, inside of his receiver? His outside foot's back. Okay, he's trying to take away that inside release. He's funneling it away, trying to make it a harder, longer throw, playing towards the outside. He's trying to take that inside release away. So I'm thinking that's more man. Okay, so let's put it to work. All right, we're going to go through a series here where I give you some pre-snap looks. So the first thing we want to do is find the what, guys? We want to find the safeties. Want to find the safeties. How many safeties do you see high here?
One.
So what are you immediately thinking? This is
Cover one
cover
or cover three.
Cover one or cover three. All right. So now we're going to start looking out at the rest of the field. Okay. Let's look at this corner down here, number 6. Where's his eyes? If you can kind of see where his helmet, what's his eyes look like they're going?
They're looking at quarterback.
They look inside. Okay. All right. We see he's playing a little outside leverage. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, these corners will lie. All right? These corners will lie. So a lot of times what I like to do is look at these outside backers. Okay? I look at these outside backers. Again, his eyes are inside. Okay? His eyes are inside. And then there's one other little tool that you can use is how many receivers do they have out here to the right of the quarterback?
3.
All right? Well, we got 1 over 1 here. We got this guy kind of over number 2. Is anybody over number 3 right here right now?
No.
All right. So you tell me this could be cover 1 or cover 3. What are you going to predict that it is?
Cover 3.
I think it's going to be cover 3. Let's check it. There's our post snap. All right. We still got our safety high. All right. Look at this corner right here. Does that look like a man coverage? Does that look like a zone turn getting back out of there? Zone turn, right? Are y'all right that it's cover 3?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Moving on. All right. How many safeties do we got?
2.
2. All right. Now, does that look like there's a lot of distance between the safeties? What's the depth of the corners right there?
Deep.
Deep. There's 7-8 yards right there. Okay. What's this guy's base look like right here? This safety to the top of the screen.
He looks like he's ready to run and make a tackle.
That's right. All right. These guys are 5'10". They're right at 11, almost 12 yards, but they're not real deep. And it's actually that ball's a little ahead of that line. So they're really about 11 yards. okay? And they look like they're coming downhill a little bit. Now, these corners, can't quite tell, all right? They're off. Can't really tell with their base. Definitely doesn't look like man coverage, right? So what do you think right now? So I'm looking at this. I say, all right, there's two safeties high. It can be cover 0, 2, or 4, all right? There's two safeties anyways in the top of the defense. What do you predict that this is?
I think it's cover 4.
Cover 4, all right? Any cover 2s out there?
If it was cover 2, the corners would probably be a little lower.
I think you're probably right, all right? I think you're probably right. And the safeties might be a little deeper, all right? So we see this thing play out. And it sure looks like cover 4 to me, okay? Nobody's low. This corner's turning and running. Look at these safeties, right? We haven't seen cover 2 yet, but if we saw cover 2, those guys would be pedaling and getting off the hash, okay, getting deeper. Look at him standing flat-footed right here. He's waiting on that receiver to come to him, all right? Same with this guy right here. They're sitting and waiting and letting the play develop, all right? So we got cover 4. Good job, all right? Now what do we got? How many safeties are deep?
None.
Right? This looks pretty flat, doesn't it? Okay. This looks pretty flat. So I'm already thinking this is probably cover 0. All right. Now we got to figure out, is it man coverage or not? Okay. Well, this picture could be a little tricky to you because his eyes are looking in. Like I said, sometimes the eyes will lie because they're looking back and forth. But these guys are now playing 2-on-2 right here. Right. And we got a little stacked alignment. So they don't necessarily know which man they're going to play. They're probably playing what we call banjo technique. So the guy on the inside is going to take the inside breaking route, and the guy on the outside is going to take the outside breaking route. All right. Same thing down here. We got 2 eligible receivers, got 2 DBs on top of them. All right. So what do we think when we hear cover 0?
They're blitzing more than we can block.
Probably going to be blitzing, right? So let's see. We got 3 down linemen. It's probably pretty safe that they're coming. Is this guy covering anybody at the top of the screen right here?
No.
He's probably coming, right? He ain't got nobody covering. So even though he stood up, right, it doesn't mean that he's got to be playing coverage. Well, now we got this little guy right here, all right? Well, there's an eligible receiver. Is he covering that guy? Or is he going to be covering that guy?
The guy in the orange sleeves covering him.
Right? So there's another little rule. This is getting a little deeper. But anytime we see those safeties stacked on top of of a backer, he's there for a reason, all right? So we're going to predict that backer is probably going to blitz and that safety is going to take that guy. All right. And then one of these guys could probably come as well. Let's see how it plays out. All right. We got our 2-on-2 up top. Look at him letting it sort out. We got our 2-on-2 at the bottom. The guy that we predicted to come came. All right. And then we got 1 linebacker left who's going to be playing the back out of the backfield. All right. See how that plays out. They're covering with 5. So they're bringing how many? 6. All right. How many safeties we got?
2.
2. All right. 2. Is this going to be cover 2 or cover 4? What's the other thing it could be?
Oh, what else?
Yeah. I kind of left one out in there.
6.
It could be cover 5 as well. Cover 5 as well. I need to put a little addendum to that. So I'm kind of giving you a clue here. So yeah, this does look like it could potentially be cover 2. Those guys are deep. These corners are up tight. But what do you notice about the linebackers? And what do you notice about the eyes?
On the receiver.
They're locked on that receiver. All right. They're locked on that receiver. We got another kind of close proximity, 2 guys out here. All right. But this guy looks like his eyes are inside ready to go. And this guy looks like he's getting ready to play on top of that guy. All right. So this is that cover 5 look, that man 2 look. All right. And we see that safety got all the way out of the screen. All right. This one's playing high. All right. We see the turn and run. We see the back of those jerseys. We know right now, right, those dudes are playing man. Okay. So we know that they're going to cover with 5 here and play 2 on top. All right. So that only leaves them with 4 to blitz. All right. 4 to blitz or 4 to bring it. So what are we thinking when we see cover 5? Somebody remind me what routes are available or what routes are not available if we see this cover 5 look. And we don't want to throw that. We don't want to throw the 8. We don't want to throw the 9. We can throw the 7 to the sidelines, and we can throw any of the ones underneath. This is great for our intermediate routes because we're going to have time for them to develop. All right. Got a little butt shot here, a little end zone view. All right. How many safeties we got?
2.
2. All right. So we're thinking 2, 4. Right. The safeties are deep, so it's probably not 0. We had cover 5 last time. All right.
This
But
looks
what-
like they're four shell.
Yeah, we kind of see what does that base and demeanor look like of this safety right here in this safety?
Skinny feet.
JP, yes, sir.
You think that's skinny? He looks like he's kind of leaning a little forward to me. All right. What about your corners out here? What
look
depth
like
are they? What depth are these corners at? Are they tight under 5 yards? Or are they backed off over 7?
They're off.
Over 7.
So what you think here? What do you guys feeling?
Cover 4.
Cover 4. Let's see it play out. All right. There we go. These safeties we're still kind of staying on that plane. These corners, look at that corner getting back right there. All right. Backing up. All right. Backing up. Okay. So what routes are available against cover 4?
0 through 6 and 8.
0 through 6 and 8. All right. Now, is the 8 available as we see it now because these safeties are still getting back? No, right? So again, 8 is a potential, but we've got to draw that 8 in. Okay, we got to draw that safety down with some play action or another route that triggers him down before we throw it. All right. Why can't we throw the 7? We could throw the 7 in cover 2. Why can't we still throw the 7 here?
The
Corners are back, right? You see this guy's looks like this route distribution right here. This receiver looks like he's going underneath, right? That corner's not going to drive that. So if this dude ran a 7 right here from the slot, right, he'd be all over it. All right. So again, we're thinking 0 through 6 and 8 alert. All right, but it's not going to be there. Okay, so good. Cover 4. All right, now a little butt shot here. How many safeties we got?
1.
Got 1. So what do we deduce it down to? This could only be cover what? Or what?
1 or 3. 1 or 3.
1 or 3. So let's go to our Dale technique. What's the depth of kind of the other guys? Does it look like they're
Press.
tighter?
Tight.
All right, so I'm kind of thinking could be some man. All right, what about the eyes? Look at the eyes here.
At the receivers.
They're locked on, right? Locked on. And now here's another thing, and this is getting into another lesson. And when we start talking about how to recognize man or zone, one technique we can use is motions. Now, motions aren't 100%, but motions can give us a lot. This is still pre-snap, and this back is starting to motion. What do you notice as this back is starting to motion out pre-snap?
The linebacker is following him.
Beautiful, right? So a lot of times motion can really help us out, and we'll utilize motion sometimes to see, is that going to, is somebody trailing them or not? Again, I'm going to tell you, it's not 100%. We can't just automatically assume, but it can still be one of those indicators that we use. And again, guys, as we go through stuff, we're building baselines, all right? But what we like to think is if we can get about 75% of the picture to tell us one thing, that's what we got to go with. We got to go with the information that's available. So right now, this picture right now is giving me a lot of information telling me that this is cover 1, all right? You see it shake out. Looks like tight coverage, cover 1, right? What routes can we throw versus cover 1?
0 through 7.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And
Right. What can we not throw?
the 8.
We throw an 8. That's picked all day, right? All right. We ain't throwing 8s against post safeties. All right. All right. You got your pre and your post. Who's the first to tell me what it is?
Cover 0.
0. Good. Right. Look, how many safeties we got back here?
None.
1. All right. Look at their eyes. Look at their leverage. And then you can see the post snap right here. All right. They're playing tight. And again, cover 0 is something we're going to see as we get down into that red zone. Okay, we see a lot more down in that red zone because they got the back, they got the in line, the out of bounds as their kind of 12th man defender back there, so they can play a little tighter and force the quarterback to have to get it in and over the top and not throw it out of bounds. All right, let's see who's the first to get it. Next one.
2 safeties back.
Cover 2.
Yeah,
You'll go with cover 2.
I like 4 because the corner's butt is towards the sideline, so it could potentially be dropping back.
All right. Well, potentially. Would you say that these corners are under 5 yards?
Yes, sir.
That boundary one is. The top one, he's close. All right. These safeties are back deep and split, though, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
All right. Skinny feet. All right. Now we see the route distribution here. All right. Corners are still pretty low. Those safeties are back a lot. Now, what do we like versus cover 2?
4, 6, 7, bang 9.
2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. Do you see where this 7 route right here is breaking open?
Yes, sir.
Right there, right? That's that window that we love against cover two. The big soft spots against cover two, remember, it's this 18 to 22 yards on the sideline. So we could do it two ways, right? We could run a hitch by number one and a corner by number two, which is called a smash concept, and get it in there because we could draw that corner up. Or we could run a speed out by number two, a quick out by number two, and we could run a bang 9 by the 1. All right? Two different ways that we can get to that honey hole. Where's the other soft spot for an explosive play against cover 2?
For the field.
Middle of the field. Look at how it parts right here in the middle of the field, right? Again, 18 to 22 yards, though. If I throw it 30 yards down the field, these safeties can break. So I'm trying to hit what I call the high hole, right over the top of the mic, but right in front in between these safeties right here. So we got to be great, quarterbacks and receivers at getting to those spots and anticipating that ball being in those windows on time. If we're late, we can't throw deep. All right, next one. Ready? All right, pre-snap on the left. How many safeties?
1.
What's it look like it's distributing out? Everybody good with cover 3? I tell you what, if I'm the coach and I'm looking at this post-snap picture, look at that corner up top. What did he do wrong? Look at this corner up top here. We're not.
He went down. He's supposed to stay like back.
Absolutely. All right, so here comes one of those concept breakers, right? Now, I step up to the line, and I'm thinking it's cover 3. I'm like, well, I ain't throwing a 9 versus cover 3. Okay. However, I see this guy down low. All right. And I know my dude versus his dude. It may be something that we got to check. Okay. Because guys can make mistakes. But again, you want to be careful anticipating somebody making a mistake. We're trying to make, the right decision, the best decision faster and more consistently. And I want to make this point right here because I'm almost kind of doing what I don't want to do. All right. There's going to be so many times once we get you guys wired up to be making better decisions that guys will be, oh, I was open. And even coaches may say it too when they go back and watch the film. I want to make sure that you trust your eyes. Coach, I thought that was cover 3. It was 1st and 10. He made a bust, but I made the easy completion on 1st and 10. And I'm good with that. I'm going to be good with that. Okay. Where we get into mistakes is trying to not play with anticipation, but play by guessing, right? I don't want to guess that somebody's going to make a bad decision. Now, if you happen to see that guy beats him off the line of scrimmage and you make that throw because you kind of saw it in real time, hey, that's all good. Okay. But we see that's a coverage bust up top. He's not playing good coverage. This is certainly cover 3. All right. If it was cover 1, guys, they wouldn't even have these guys. Nobody's even covered these guys down right here. So we know that it's not going to be man coverage. There's a guy completely uncovered right there. All right. Next one. What are we thinking? Quick. Cover 4. And I put this one in here for a reason. All right. Look out. We see the safeties they're not at 12. What's that? 3, 7. They're right at 10. Okay. Look at that big base right there. These corners are backed off a little bit. Now, I talk about skinny feet, but to the sideline is also a way to get back. Okay. Some people teach that shuffle bail technique. Okay. What I wanted to show here was, as you see, as these routes distribute, and this number 2 receiver, who's the tight end in the pre-snap picture, he's going under. What's this safety doing?
Touching down.
He's nailing down on it. All right. So they've wired their cover 4 up where that guy's taking he's taking any of those in routes. Do you see now why the 8 can pop versus cover 4?
Yes, sir.
We got outside leverage by the corner because he thinks he's got support right here by the safety. So when we run an in route by number 2 and we can run that big post over the top of that safety, that corner is in a bad spot. All right. So we've opened up this space to throw the 8 versus cover 4. All right. What else is open versus cover 4?
0 through 6 and 8. So
0 through 6. Is there a lot of space out here? If we had a hitch, if we had an out, if we had a slant, look at all this space out here. All right. We got to know, man, we see cover 4, we're on 1st and 10, and we'll talk about situations at a later date. But if it's 1st and 10, we're looking for an easy completion. We see cover 4, we should be taking those high percentage 0 through 3 routes all day long, right? Picking up yardage, winning 1st down. Now, If it's a shot situation that we'll talk about, it's 2nd and 2 or on the other side of the field, or it's 3rd and long and we got to have a deep ball. Well, now I'm saying, well, I ain't throwing that hitch over here. We got an opportunity to throw the big post. And so we'll talk about how we'll start making those decisions when we're looking for the bigger shots, when we're looking for the safer ones. All right, what we got?
Number 1.
How many safeties?
One.
One safety. All right. Now we got two big indicators here. Okay. I'm looking kind of at eyes. Looks like they're matched up on their receivers. I know you can't really see probably that corner real well, but he's down and inside. But we have a motion, don't we? You see this motion kind of going in place right here?
Yes, sir.
And we got our guy chasing it. All right. So again, motion's not 100%, but it can be a good indicator. All right. We see it distribute out. These guys are tight to their coverage. Look at the corner at the top of the screen. Back to the quarterback. He is playing man all day long. Safety's so deep, he's out of the screen now. He's playing on the moon. All right. So we ain't throwing no 8s into that, are we?
No.
Everything but 8. Everything but 8. All right, fellas. We'll start with that. Was just the still frames of it today. We'll come back and we'll give a little more footage. We'll kind of watch a clip through and see what we got next time. But here's your next piece. Okay. This is just like the page I gave you last time, where it gave you all the coverages with the routes to the side. It was just a one-stop shop. They're cheat codes. They're cliff notes. Take them, internalize them, memorize them. Okay. This is everything we just talked about. Put in one nice little page for you. Take a screenshot of it. Honestly, what would be better is to pause it and you write it. Remember, I told you, you writing that pen and paper, that's the best thing for this right here. Put it out to the side. See if you can write it again without looking at it. Do that 10 times. All right. So again, we break it down with our safeties, 1 or 3. We know what the potential are. Okay. Or excuse me, if there's a middle of the field safety, just one safety, we know it's a potential for 1 or 3. Okay. If there's no safety in the middle of the field, no safeties in the middle of the field, it's 0, 2, 4, or 6. All right. Even 5 we could put in there. It's not on this sheet. All right. But now it starts getting into our depth, our leverage. All right. The eyes aren't on there, but I want you to always be thinking about the eyes as well. All right. But that depth and leverage and that demeanor. Okay. The big base versus the skinny feet. All of this is in there. All of this is in there. Okay. So again, if I were asked you to go out and give me the perfect picture of cover 2, if I want the perfect picture of cover 2, I don't want those safeties at 10 yards. I want them at what?
12 yards?
Well, 12 plus. What type of feet in cover 2 should that safety have?
Skinny.
Skinny, because he's getting ready to get back. If I said, hey, I want cover 4 safety.
Big.
Bigger base, and I want you to scoot in a little bit, scoot down a little bit. I want you to get it 10. I want you to give us the perfect look. All right. If it's cover 2, where should my corners be?
Under 5.
Under 5. What's their leverage going to be? Inside leverage or outside leverage?
Outside.
Outside, right? What's their demeanor going to be?
Inside.
Butt to the sideline, big base, ready for conflict. Okay, ready for conflict. Right. Cover 3, we tend to see those corners backed off with skinny feet. Sometimes they can play a little tighter, like we saw there a minute ago. But we can always determine, right? Sometimes the depth of those corners, like I said, corners will lie to you. But right as we get ready to snap that ball, right as that ball is snapped, if we got our eyes in the right spot, they're going to tell us. If they're playing tight and they're getting out of there right now, we know our post-snap confirmation gets us to zone. All right. They're playing tight inside of the receiver, eyes locked on, and then they turn their back to us. We know it's man right now. All right. So all this makes sense, fellas?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. All right. Y'all keep kind of learning it and going through it and going through it and going through it, and this stuff will come real fast to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, fellas. That's all I got tonight. Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next time. I appreciate y'all spending some time with me.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Have a good night.
Thank you, buddy. Y'all be good.
Good night, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Have a good night, guys.